Samara stands before her full-length mirror, smoothing down the emerald dress that hugs her curves. Her hands tremble slightly as she fastens the delicate gold chain around her neck, a gift from her grandmother back in Nairobi. Tonight isn't just another party. Tonight, Marcus will be there. Her phone buzzes on the dresser. The message reads, "I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't worry." She stares at the unfamiliar number, though she knows exactly who sent it. Min June Park. The name alone sends a chill down her spine, but not from fear. From power. From the knowledge that tonight, everything changes. The party invitation sits on her dresser, cream-colored cardstock with gold lettering. Her college roommate's engagement celebration. She'd almost declined when she learned Marcus would attend with his new girlfriend, the woman he'd left her for 6 months ago. But then Min June had called, his voice smooth as silk, making an offer she couldn't refuse. Amara takes one last look at herself. Her dark skin glows against the emerald fabric. Her natural hair is styled in elegant twists that frame her face. She looks beautiful, confident, powerful. She looks nothing like the broken woman Marcus left crying in a coffee shop half a year ago. Tonight, Marcus will see what he gave up. Tonight, he'll learn that Amara Okonkwo doesn't stay down for long. Amara's story begins 6 months earlier, in a small coffee shop in downtown Seoul. She'd moved to South Korea 3 years ago for a marketing position at a multinational tech firm, leaving behind the warm sunshine of Nairobi for the bustling streets of Asia. The transition had been difficult, learning basic Korean phrases, navigating a new culture, dealing with the stares that followed her everywhere as one of the few black women in the city. Marcus had been her anchor. They'd met at a company mixer, both ambitious professionals in their late 20s. He was American, working in finance, and he'd approached her with confidence and charm. For 2 years, they'd built a life together. She'd introduced him to her favorite Kenyan dishes, teaching him to make chapati and sukuma wiki. He'd taken her hiking in the mountains outside Seoul, shown her the best hidden restaurants in Itaewon. She'd loved him. Truly, deeply loved him. Then came the coffee shop conversation she'd never forget. Marcus had sat across from her, unable to meet her eyes, and explained that he'd met someone else. Someone from his office. Someone more compatible with his lifestyle. Amara had sat there, frozen, as he fumbled through his explanation. The worst part wasn't even the breakup itself, it was the pity in his eyes, as if he were doing her a favor by being honest. "You're great, Amara," he'd said. "You'll find someone. I just don't think I'm the right person for you." She'd walked out of that coffee shop feeling hollow. For weeks, she'd thrown herself into work, avoiding the places they used to go together, declining invitations from mutual friends. Her colleague, Sarah, had been the one to finally pull her out of her apartment. "You can't hide forever," Sarah had insisted. "Come to this networking event with me. Just one drink." That networking event had changed everything. The venue had been a sleek lounge in Gangnam, filled with Seoul's business elite. Amara had stood near the bar, nursing a glass of wine, when she'd noticed him. A man in an impeccably tailored suit, surrounded by people who seemed to hang on his every word. He was Korean, probably in his mid-30s, with sharp features and an air of authority that made people instinctively step aside when he moved through the room. Min June Park. She'd learned his name later, after he'd approached her with a slight smile. "You look bored," he'd said in perfect English. "Is it that obvious?" she'd replied. "Only to someone who's equally bored." His eyes had sparked with amusement. Min June Park. Amara Okonkwo. They'd talked for an hour. He'd been surprisingly easy to converse with, asking about her work, her life in Seoul, her thoughts on the city. He'd seemed genuinely interested in her perspective as an African woman navigating Korean corporate culture. He'd shared stories about his own business, though he'd been vague about the details, and made her laugh with his dry observations about the networking event's attendees. Before parting, he'd given her his card. "If you ever need anything in this city," he'd said, "call me." She'd tucked the card away, thinking nothing of it. Over the next few months, they'd crossed paths several times. Always at business events, always with the same easy conversation. Amara had heard whispers about Min June, that he ran an import-export business with connections throughout Asia, that he had friends in very high places, that people who crossed him tended to regret it. Some called him a businessman. Others, in hushed tones, used different words. But to Amara, he'd only ever been courteous, respectful, and surprisingly kind. When she'd mentioned struggling to find authentic African ingredients, he'd made a call, and 2 days later, a specialty store contacted her with a shipment of items from Kenya. When she'd had trouble with her apartment lease, one conversation with Min June had somehow resolved everything. She'd never asked what he did. She wasn't sure she wanted to know. Then came the invitation to Sarah's engagement party. Amara had been happy for her friend, until Sarah had mentioned apologetically, "Marcus is coming. I invited him before I knew it would be weird. I'm so sorry." Amara had almost declined. But something had sparked in her chest, not heartbreak, but defiance. Why should she hide? Why should Marcus get to enjoy the party while she stayed home feeling sorry for herself? She'd mentioned it to Minjun during a chance encounter at a cafe. My ex will be there, she'd admitted. He'll probably bring his new girlfriend. Show her off. Minjun had studied her for a moment. Would you like him to see that you've moved on? I have moved on, she'd said, though even she could hear the lack of conviction. Then show him. Minjun had leaned back in his chair. I have no plans that evening. I'd be honored to accompany you. Amara had stared at him. You don't have to do that. I know. His smile had been slight but genuine. But I'd like to. Consider it a favor between friends. And now, here she is, waiting for that favor to arrive. The venue for Sarah's engagement party is a rooftop restaurant overlooking the Han River. Fairy lights drape across the space, and the Seoul skyline glitters in the distance. Amara arrives alone, as planned. Minjun will join her later, his idea, to make the entrance more dramatic. She spots Sarah immediately, radiant in a white cocktail dress, and makes her way over to congratulate her friend. They embrace warmly, and Sarah introduces her to her fiancé, a kind-faced architect named James. You look absolutely stunning, Sarah whispers. That dress is perfect. Amara smiles, but her attention has already caught on a familiar figure across the room. Marcus stands near the bar, his arm around a petite blonde woman in a red dress. His new girlfriend, presumably. They're laughing at something, looking completely comfortable, completely happy. Amara's stomach tightens, but she forces herself to maintain her composure. She accepts a glass of champagne from a passing waiter and mingles with other guests, keeping her distance from Marcus. For the first hour, it works. She chats with old college friends, exchanges stories about life in Seoul, and almost forgets that Marcus is in the room. Almost. Then she hears his voice behind her. Amara? Wow, I didn't know you'd be here. She turns slowly. Marcus stands there with his girlfriend, both holding drinks. His expression is surprised but not unpleasant. Neutral. Sarah's my friend, Amara says simply. Why wouldn't I be? Right, of course. Marcus gestures to the woman beside him. This is Jennifer. Jennifer, this is Amara. We dated. Jennifer extends a hand, her smile polite but curious. Nice to meet you. You too. Amara shakes her hand, noting how small and soft it is. Everything about Jennifer seems soft. Her voice, her mannerisms, even the way she looks at Marcus with undisguised adoration. So, Amara, Marcus says, his tone casual but with an edge she recognizes. Still at the same company? Yes. I got promoted actually. Senior Marketing Director. That's great, he says, though his smile doesn't quite reach his eyes. And are you seeing anyone? The question hangs in the air. Amara sees what he's doing, establishing that he's moved on, that he's happy, that he's won somehow. The old Amara might have shrunk under that implicit comparison. But tonight, she has a secret weapon arriving soon. Actually, yes, she says smoothly. He's joining me later. Work ran late. Marcus's eyebrows lift slightly. Oh? What does he do? Import-export business. He's quite successful. Marcus takes a sip of his drink. Well, that's good. You deserve someone stable. The comment stings, implying that Marcus himself had been too much for her, that she needs someone stable because she couldn't handle someone ambitious like him. Jennifer shifts uncomfortably beside him, perhaps sensing the undercurrent of tension. Before Amara can respond, one of Marcus's friends joins their group, a loud, obnoxious man named Derek who works in the same finance firm. Marcus. There you are, man. Derek claps Marcus on the shoulder, then notices Amara. Oh hey, you're the ex, right? The one from Kenya? Yes, Amara says coolly. Wild, Derek says, shaking his head. Must be tough, dating scene in Seoul 4, well, He gestures vaguely at her, and Amara feels her jaw tighten. For what, she asks, keeping her voice level. Derek has the grace to look slightly embarrassed. Just, cultural differences and all that. Not a lot of people who look like you here. The implication is clear, and cruel. Marcus doesn't correct his friend. He just sips his drink, looking vaguely uncomfortable but not intervening. Jennifer stares at her shoes. I'm doing just fine, Amara says, her voice harder now. Actually, better than fine. Sure, Derek says dismissively. Hey, Marcus was just telling us about the new place he and Jennifer are looking at. Penthouse in Gangnam. Pretty sweet deal. And there it is, the real purpose of this conversation. To show Amara what Marcus has now, what she doesn't. The successful relationship, the fancy apartment, the perfect life. Marcus has the decency to look slightly apologetic. Derek, man, maybe. No, it's fine, Amara interrupts. I'm happy for you both. Really. She excuses herself and walks toward the balcony, needing air. Her hands shake slightly as she grips the railing, looking out at the river below. The city lights blur slightly, and she realizes her eyes are damp. She pulls out her phone, checking the time. Min-jun should arrive in 15 minutes. She just needs to hold on until then. She just needs to make it through this without breaking down. Behind her, she hears laughter, Marcus's laugh, specifically. She glances back through the glass doors and sees him with his arm around Jennifer, talking animatedly with a group of friends. He looks so happy, so unburdened. Was she really that forgettable? That easy to replace? Amara takes a deep breath, steadying herself. No. She won't let him see her hurt. Not again. The party continues, and Amara tries to lose herself in conversations with other guests. But it seems like everywhere she turns, Marcus is nearby, and each encounter leaves her feeling smaller. At the buffet table, she overhears him telling a story about a crazy ex who texted him repeatedly after their breakup. She knows he's talking about her. The 3 messages she'd sent asking for her belongings back hardly count as crazy, but the way he tells it, she sounds desperate and pathetic. His friends laugh, and Amara pretends not to hear as she loads her plate with food she no longer wants to eat. Near the bar, Derek approaches her again, clearly tipsy now. Hey, so where's this mysterious boyfriend of yours? He makes air quotes around boyfriend. Or did you make him up? He's on his way, Amara says firmly. Right. Import-export, you said? Derek grins. My uncle's in import-export. Maybe I know him. What's his name? Amara hesitates for just a moment, long enough for Derek to laugh. Aha, that's what I thought. Look, it's okay to come to these things alone. You don't have to pretend. Min-jun Park, Amara says clearly. His name is Min-jun Park. Derek's expression shifts slightly, like he's heard the name before but can't quite place it. Park? Korean guy? Yes. Huh? Derek shrugs. Well, I'm sure he's great. If he's real. He walks away, and Amara checks her phone again. 10 minutes. Just 10 more minutes. But then comes the worst moment of the evening. Sarah calls for everyone's attention, asking for toasts to celebrate her engagement. People gather in the center of the room, glasses raised. Marcus is chosen to give a toast. Apparently, he introduced Sarah to her fiancé at a work event. He stands before the crowd, charming and confident, telling the story of how Sarah and James met. Everyone laughs at the funny parts, us at the sweet moments. Then Marcus raises his glass. To finding the right person, he says, his eyes sweeping the room. Because when you know, you know. And when you don't. His gaze lands on Amara for just a second, so brief that most people probably miss it. Well, it's better to be honest than to settle. People clink glasses and drink. Amara stands frozen, her champagne untouched. The message was clear, Jennifer is the right person. Amara was the one he would have been settling for. Sarah catches her eye from across the room, looking apologetic and worried. But the damage is done. Amara excuses herself and heads for the bathroom, needing a moment to collect herself. In the mirror, she sees that her eyes are red-rimmed. She dabs at them carefully, trying not to ruin her makeup. This was a mistake. Coming here was a mistake. Thinking she could face Marcus with her head held high was a mistake. Her phone buzzes. A text from Min-jun arrived. Where are you? Amara's heart leaps. She quickly touches up her makeup, straightens her dress, and takes a deep breath. This is it. This is her moment. But as she's about to leave the bathroom, she hears voices outside, Marcus and Derek, talking in the hallway. Honestly don't know what I saw in her, Marcus is saying. I mean, she's nice enough, but we had nothing in common. And dating someone so different, culturally, it was exhausting. Yeah, man, Derek agrees. Sometimes you need someone who just gets it, you know? Someone on your level. Exactly. Jennifer just fits into my life, my goals, everything. With Amara, I always felt like I was explaining things or compromising. It got old. Amara's hand freezes on the door handle. She stands there, listening to the man she once loved reduce their entire relationship to an inconvenience. You think she'll find someone? Derek asks. Here in Seoul? Marcus laughs, actually laughs. God, I hope so. She deserves to be happy. Just not with me. They walk away, their voices fading. Amara remains in the bathroom, her chest tight with humiliation and rage. All those months of blaming herself, wondering what she'd done wrong, if she'd been too demanding or not understanding enough, and this whole time, Marcus had simply seen her as wrong for him. Not her personality, not her choices, but her very identity. She wants to leave. She wants to go home, climb into bed, and never see any of these people again. But then her phone buzzes again. I'm waiting for you. Min-jun, powerful, mysterious Min-jun, who treats her with respect, who values her perspective, who never makes her feel like she's too much or not enough. Amara straightens her shoulders. No. She won't run. Not this time. She exits the bathroom and walks back toward the party, her heels clicking against the polished floor. Min-jun stands near the entrance, scanning the crowd. He's dressed in a black suit that looks like it costs more than Amara's monthly salary, his dark hair styled perfectly. Even from across the room, he commands attention. Several people have already turned to look at him, whispering among themselves. When his eyes find Amara, his expression softens slightly. He crosses the space between them in a few long strides. "Amara," he says, his voice low and warm. "I apologize for being late." "You're right on time," she assures him. He studies her face for a moment, and she wonders what he sees there. Can he tell she's been crying? Can he sense the humiliation she's been drowning in all evening? "Are you all right?" he asks quietly. The simple question nearly undoes her. She blinks rapidly, forcing back tears. "I will be." Minjun's jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. "Show me who he is." Amara glances across the room to where Marcus stands with Jennifer and their group of friends. The tall one in the blue shirt. Minjun follows her gaze, his expression unreadable. He watches Marcus for a long moment, taking in the way he laughs, the casual confidence in his posture, the proprietary arm around Jennifer's waist. "He hurt you," Minjun says. "It's not a question." "Yes. There's no point in lying." "And tonight? Has he continued to hurt you?" Amara hesitates, then nods. "He's been making it clear that I was the problem. That he's better off now." Something dark flickers across Minjun's face. When he looks back at her, his eyes are intense. "Do you know why I agreed to come tonight, Amara?" She shakes her head. "Because in the months I've known you, you've shown me nothing but grace, intelligence, and strength. You navigate a culture that isn't your own with more elegance than people who were born here. You speak 3 languages. You've built a career in a competitive field, far from your home and family. You're remarkable." He pauses. "And any man who can't see that is a fool." Amara's breath catches. She's not used to this, to being seen so completely, to being valued so openly. "Thank you," she whispers. Minjun offers his arm. "Shall we?" Before they can move, Sarah appears, her eyes wide as she takes in Minjun's presence. "Amara. You didn't mention," she stops, recognition dawning on her face. "Wait. Are you Minjun Park? From Park Industries?" "I am," Minjun confirms politely. "You must be the bride-to-be. Congratulations." Sarah looks between them, clearly trying to process this development. "Thank you. I didn't realize you and Amara were. I mean, how did you two?" "We met at a networking event several months ago," Amara explains, her confidence growing with Minjun beside her. "We've been friends since then." "Friends," Sarah repeats, glancing at how close they're standing, how Minjun's attention remains completely focused on Amara despite the growing number of people trying to catch his eye. News of Minjun's arrival spreads through the party like wildfire. Amara watches as people crane their necks to get a better look, as conversations pause and restart in hushed, excited tones. She catches fragments of whispers. "That's Minjun Park. What's he doing here? Isn't he with?" Across the room, Marcus has noticed the commotion. His eyes find Minjun, and Amara sees the exact moment recognition hits. Marcus's face goes pale, then slightly green. He says something to Derek, who immediately pulls out his phone, presumably to search for information. Minjun seems oblivious to the attention, or perhaps he's just used to it. He turns to Amara with a slight smile. "Would you like to get some air? It's rather crowded in here." "Yes, please." They move toward the balcony, and the crowd parts for them like the Red Sea. Amara keeps her head high, her hand resting lightly on Minjun's arm. She doesn't look at Marcus as they pass, but she can feel his stare burning into her back. On the balcony, away from the noise and eyes, Minjun releases a slight breath. "I forget how exhausting that can be." "What?" Amara asks. "Being looked at like a curiosity. Or a threat." He leans against the railing, gazing out at the river. "You must experience it often too, in this city." Amara joins him at the railing. "Every day. Though for different reasons." "Not so different," Minjun says thoughtfully. "We're both outsiders in our own ways. You for how you look, me for what I do." This is the first time he's directly acknowledged his reputation. Amara chooses her words carefully. "Does it bother you? What people say?" "Sometimes." He's quiet for a moment. "My family came from nothing. My grandfather was a laborer, my father a factory worker. I built my business from the ground up, and yes, I had to make difficult choices along the way. Choices that earned me both wealth and a certain reputation." "You don't owe me an explanation," Amara says softly. "I know. But I want you to understand who you're standing with right now. Some people in that room fear me. Some want to use me. Very few actually see me as a person." "I see you," Amara says. "As someone who's been kind to me when he didn't have to be. As someone who made me laugh when I needed it most. As a friend." Minjun turns to face her fully, and there's something vulnerable in his expression that she's never seen before. "Is that what we are? Friends?" The question hangs between them, loaded with possibility. Before Amara can answer, the balcony door opens. Marcus stands there, looking decidedly uncomfortable. Sorry to interrupt. Amara, could I speak with you for a moment? Minjun straightens, his demeanor shifting from open to guarded in an instant. He looks at Amara. It's your choice. Amara considers refusing, but curiosity gets the better of her. It's fine. I'll just be a moment. Minjun nods and steps past Marcus into the party, though not before giving him a look that makes Marcus visibly swallow. Once they're alone, Marcus immediately starts talking. Look, I didn't know you were dating Minjun Park. If I had known. We're not dating, Amara interrupts. We're friends. Marcus laughs nervously. Right, friends. Sure. Look, Amara, I think we should clear the air. I may have said some things tonight that were insensitive. Insensitive, Amara repeats flatly. Is that what we're calling it? I was just trying to move on, you know? And maybe I overcompensated. But you being here with Park. I mean, do you know who he is? What people say about him? Amara crosses her arms. Why do you care, Marcus? Because I don't want to see you get hurt. The guy is dangerous, Amara. He's connected to some serious people. My colleagues have told me stories. Stories, Amara cuts him off. Like the stories you were telling about your crazy ex earlier? The one who texted you 3 times asking for her belongings back. Marcus has the grace to look ashamed. You heard that. I heard a lot of things tonight, Marcus. I heard you tell Derek that dating me was exhausting. That I was too different, that we had nothing in common. That Jennifer just fits into your life in a way I never could. Amara, No. She holds up a hand. You don't get to do this. You don't get to spend the entire evening making me feel worthless and then suddenly care about my well-being because I showed up with someone powerful. You had your chance to treat me with respect, and you chose not to. Repeatedly. Marcus runs a hand through his hair, frustrated. I'm trying to apologize here. No, you're not. You're trying to cover your ass because you're scared of Minjun. Well, you don't need to be. He's a gentleman, which is more than I can say for you. She turns to go back inside, but Marcus grabs her arm. Amara, wait. Please. I want you to be careful. Park's reputation isn't just rumors. He's involved in things that. The balcony door opens again. Minjun stands there, his eyes immediately going to where Marcus is gripping Amara's arm. His expression doesn't change, but something in the air shifts. Becomes heavier. Is there a problem? Minjun asks, his voice perfectly calm. Marcus drops Amara's arm like it's burned him. No problem. We were just talking. It looked like more than talking. Minjun steps onto the balcony, and Marcus actually takes a step back. Amara, are you ready to go back inside? Yes, she says immediately. As she passes Marcus, he whispers urgently, be careful. Inside, the party has taken on a different energy. People keep glancing at Minjun and Amara, conversations dropping to whispers when they pass. Amara spots Jennifer standing alone near the dessert table, looking lost. Marcus rejoins her moments later, speaking to her in low, urgent tones. Sarah approaches with her fiancé James. Amara, I'm so sorry about earlier. I had no idea Marcus would be so. It's fine, Amara assures her. It's not your fault. This is your night, focus on celebrating. Are you sure? Because I can ask him to leave if you want. This is supposed to be fun, not. Really, Sarah. I'm okay. And surprisingly, Amara realizes it's true. Standing here with Minjun beside her, she feels protected. Valued. Safe. Minjun excuses himself to take a phone call, and Amara finds herself cornered by Derek, who's clearly had too much to drink. So you're really with Minjun Park, Derek says, his eyes glazed. How'd you manage that? Excuse me? I mean, no offense, but you're way out of your league with him. He's like Korean royalty or something. Serious connections. My boss does business with his company, won't even take meetings without layers of lawyers present. Maybe you should stop drinking, Amara suggests coldly. I'm just saying, a guy like that doesn't date normal people. Especially not. He trails off, but the implication is clear. Amara feels her face flush with anger. Especially not what, Derek? Finish your sentence. Derek seems to realize he's crossed a line. Nothing. Forget it. I'm just gonna. He stumbles away. Amara's hands shake as she sets down her champagne glass. She's had enough. More than enough. The whole evening has been one humiliation after another, and even Minjun's presence can't completely erase the sting of Marcus's betrayal or Derek's racism. She's about to text Minjun that she's leaving when she feels a hand on her shoulder. She turns, expecting Minjun, but finds Jennifer instead. Can we talk? Jennifer asks quietly. Just for a minute? Surprised, Amara nods. They move to a quieter corner of the venue. Jennifer looks uncomfortable, twisting her hands together. I wanted to apologize. For Marcus. For tonight. He's been awful to you, and I didn't say anything, and I should have. Why are you apologizing? Amara asks. You didn't do anything. That's the problem. I just stood there while he and Derek said horrible things. And then earlier, I heard him talking about you in the hallway, and Jennifer's eyes fill with tears. I'm not a bad person. But tonight I let Marcus make me into one. Amara softened slightly. You're not responsible for his behavior. Maybe not, but I could have said something. I could have stood up for you. And I didn't, because... Jennifer takes a shaky breath. Because I was afraid if I defended you, he might realize he made a mistake leaving you. The admission hangs between them. He told me you were clingy and demanding, Jennifer continues. That you wanted too much from him, that nothing he did was ever enough. But watching you tonight, you've been nothing but graceful while he's been cruel. And I wonder if everything he told me about you was a lie. Amara doesn't know what to say. This conversation is so far from what she expected that she's momentarily speechless. Jennifer wipes her eyes. I just thought you should know. And I hope Minjun treats you better than Marcus ever did. You deserve that. She walks away before Amara can respond, returning to Marcus's side. But something has shifted in Amara's chest. Jennifer's words weren't just an apology, they were a gift. Confirmation that Marcus's narrative about their relationship was false, that she wasn't the problem. Minjun returns, pocketing his phone. Everything all right? Yes, Amara says, and means it. Actually, I think everything is going to be just fine. Minjun studies her face, a slight smile playing at his lips. You look different. More sure of yourself. I feel different, Amara admits. I came here tonight thinking I needed to prove something to Marcus. That I needed him to see I'd moved on, that I was fine without him. But I realize now, I don't need to prove anything. Not to him, not to anyone. Good, Minjun says. Though if you'd like to make a memorable exit, I have an idea. Before Amara can ask what he means, Sarah's fiancé James taps a glass, calling for everyone's attention again. If we could all gather round, Sarah wants to say a few words. The crowd assembles, and Sarah takes the microphone with a slightly nervous smile. She thanks everyone for coming, talks about how much this engagement means to her, and then says something unexpected. I know a lot of you are wondering about the surprise guest tonight. She gestures toward Minjun. Minjun Park is here as Amara's date, and I have to say, I've never seen her look happier. So let's raise a glass to my beautiful friend Amara, who deserves all the best things in life. The crowd applauds politely, but Amara can see the mixed reactions. Some people smile genuinely, but others, especially Marcus and his friends, look uncomfortable. Minjun leans close to Amara. May I say something? You don't have to. I know. But I'd like to. He steps forward, and Sarah hands him the microphone, looking curious. The room goes completely silent. Thank you for the warm welcome, Minjun begins, his voice carrying easily across the space. I know my presence here tonight has caused some speculation, and I wanted to address that directly. Amara's heart starts pounding. What is he doing? I first met Amara 6 months ago at a networking event. I was immediately struck by her intelligence, her warmth, and her grace. Over the months that followed, we became friends, though I hoped we might become something more. He looks at Amara, his eyes warm. She is the most remarkable woman I have ever met. She navigates challenges with dignity, treats everyone with respect, and brings light into every room she enters. Amara feels tears prick her eyes. Around her, people are watching with rapt attention. Tonight, Minjun continues, I learned that someone in this room has tried very hard to make Amara feel small. To make her question her worth. And I find that... He pauses, his expression hardening slightly. Unforgivable. The temperature in the room seems to drop. Amara sees Marcus pale visibly. Amara doesn't need me to defend her, Minjun says. She's more than capable of standing up for herself. But I wanted everyone here to know how I see her. How anyone with sense should see her. She is brilliant, beautiful, and utterly irreplaceable. He hands the microphone back to Sarah and returns to Amara's side. The room erupts in applause, genuine this time. People are smiling, some wiping their eyes. Sarah is beaming, and even some of Marcus's friends look impressed. Marcus himself stands frozen, his face a mixture of shock and humiliation. Jennifer has stepped slightly away from him, her arms crossed. Minjun offers Amara his hand. Would you like to dance? The DJ has started playing something slow and romantic. Amara takes his hand, and he leads her to the small dance floor. As they begin to sway to the music, other couples join them, but Amara barely notices. She's aware only of Minjun's hand at her waist, the warmth of his presence, the way he looks at her like she's precious. That was quite a speech, she murmurs. I meant every word. The part about hoping we'd become something more. Also true. He meets her eyes. I know the timing isn't ideal. You've just gone through a difficult breakup, and the last thing you probably want is another relationship. But I couldn't let tonight end without you knowing how I feel. Amara's breath catches. Minjun. You don't have to respond now. I just wanted to be honest. But Amara finds herself smiling. You want to know something? Tonight was supposed to be about showing Marcus what he lost. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being about him at all. It became about me realizing what I deserve. And what I deserve is someone who sees me, who values me, who makes me feel. Feel what? Minjun prompts gently. Like I'm enough, Amara finishes. Just as I am. You are, Minjun says firmly. You're more than enough. As the song ends, they become aware of the eyes on them, the whole party watching their dance. But instead of feeling exposed, Amara feels triumphant. She sees Marcus in her peripheral vision, sees him watching with something like regret on his face. But it doesn't matter anymore. His opinion doesn't matter. What matters is this moment, this man, this feeling of finally being seen. Minjun escorts her off the dance floor, and people approach to congratulate them, to introduce themselves to him, to tell Amara how beautiful she looks. Derek is notably absent, probably nursing his embarrassment in a corner. Marcus and Jennifer slip out early, and Amara feels only relief at their departure. The rest of the evening passes in a blur of conversation and laughter. Amara finds herself relaxing completely, enjoying the party in a way she couldn't before. Minjun stays close, his presence a steady comfort, but he doesn't overwhelm her or monopolize her time. He's simply there, exactly when she needs him. As the night winds down, Sarah pulls Amara aside. I'm sorry I invited Marcus. I had no idea he'd be such an ass. It's okay, Amara says honestly. If you hadn't, I might never have had this night. Sarah hugs her tightly. Minjun seems amazing. Don't let that one get away. I don't plan to, Amara admits. Minjun drives Amara home in his sleek black car, the city lights streaming past the windows. They're both quiet, comfortable in the silence after the evening's intensity. Thank you, Amara says finally. For everything. For coming, for what you said, for being. For being what? Exactly what I needed. Minjun pulls up in front of her apartment building but doesn't immediately unlock the doors. Amara, I want to be clear about something. What I said tonight, about my feelings, I meant it. But I don't want you to feel pressured. If you need time, or if you're not interested, that's perfectly okay. Your friendship matters more to me than anything else. Amara turns to face him fully. In the dim light from the street lamps, his features are softened, almost vulnerable. This powerful man who commands respect and perhaps fear from so many people is looking at her with uncertainty, waiting for her answer. I spent 2 years with Marcus, she says slowly. 2 years trying to be enough for someone who never really saw me. Who loved the idea of having an exotic girlfriend more than he loved me as a person. And when I wasn't fun or convenient anymore, he left. Minjun starts to speak, but she holds up a hand. But you've seen me at my worst. You saw me heartbroken and lost, and you didn't try to fix me or change me. You just stood beside me. You made me laugh. You helped me when I needed it without making me feel weak. And tonight, you made me feel valued in a way I've never felt before. Amara. I'm not afraid of your reputation, she continues. I've heard the whispers, the rumors. And maybe some of them are true. But I know who you've been to me, and that's what matters. You've been kind. Respectful. Real. She reaches across the console and takes his hand. So yes, she says softly. I'd like to see where this goes. If you're willing to be patient with me while I finish putting myself back together. Minjun's smile is radiant. I'd wait as long as you needed. He walks her to her apartment door, and they stand there for a moment, neither quite ready to say goodbye. Will I see you again soon? Amara asks. I was hoping to take you to dinner this week. Somewhere nice, where we can actually talk without interruption. I'd like that. Minjun hesitates, then leans down and presses a gentle kiss to her forehead. Good night, Amara. Good night. She watches him leave, then enters her apartment with a smile on her face. Her phone buzzes almost immediately, a text from Sarah with about 15 exclamation points and heart emojis, demanding details. But there's also a message from an unknown number. This is Jennifer. I broke up with Marcus. You were right, I deserve better too. Thank you for showing me what grace looks like. Amara sits on her couch, still in her emerald dress, and lets out a long breath. The evening had started with her feeling small and worthless, convinced she needed to prove something to her ex. It ends with her feeling powerful and valued, with new possibilities stretching before her. Her phone buzzes again. This time it's Minjun. Thank you for trusting me. Sleep well. Amara types back, thank you for seeing me. She sets down her phone and looks around her small apartment, the space she'd shared with Marcus's ghost for months. But tonight, it feels different. Lighter. Like she's finally reclaimed it as her own. Tomorrow, she'll wake up and continue building her life in Seoul. She'll go to work, video call her family in Nairobi, meet friends for coffee. She'll keep being Amara Okonkwo, strong, ambitious, imperfect, and entirely enough. But tonight, she allows herself to simply savor the moment. To remember the look on Marcus's face when he realized what he'd lost. To recall the warmth in Minjun's eyes when he called her remarkable. To feel, for the first time in months, excited about the future. Her ex had mocked her at the party, tried to make her feel small and forgettable. But she'd walked back in with someone who saw her worth, and everything had changed. Not because Minjun was powerful or wealthy or intimidating, though he was all those things, but because being with him reminded her of her own strength. She didn't need Minjun to save her. She'd saved herself. He'd just been there to witness it. And that, Amara thinks as she finally changes out of her dress and gets ready for bed, makes all the difference. The party had been meant to celebrate Sarah's engagement, but in a way, it had marked a new beginning for Amara too. The end of one chapter and the start of another. One where she writes her own story, defines her own worth, and refuses to let anyone make her feel less than she is. She falls asleep with a smile on her face, dreaming not of revenge or vindication, but of possibility. Of dinner dates and honest conversations. Of someone who sees her, really sees her, and chooses her anyway. Marcus had been right about one thing: they weren't right for each other. But it wasn't because she was too different or too demanding. It was because she deserved someone who celebrated those differences, who met her demands with enthusiasm, who made her feel like she was exactly who she was supposed to be. And maybe, just maybe, she'd found him.